Hello, everyone, and welcome to my Saturday morning Facebook, Substack Live. This one is pretty spontaneous, as you can probably tell by the fact that I've already made a couple of mistakes here. And I have been spending the whole of the morning just basically cleaning out some of Tom's things and thinking about what I would like the space around me to become over the next year. As you know, for Lent this year, I created a little garden. I hope you can see it here. All out of cacti, prickliness, because I think that Lent is a time of prickliness. And I noticed a couple of days ago that the cacti, or at least some of them, are starting to flower. And part of what it made me realize that in the midst of disaster, in the midst of pain, things blossom. New things blossom. And I'm feeling that this is a time when new things are starting to blossom, not just in my life, but in other places as well. In my spiritual practices post this week, I talked about God's desire to see all things made whole. And for me, that usually does begin in the garden and recognizing the sacredness of the garden, but also creating an environment in which there is a sense of sacredness and a sense of hospitality for all of God's creation. So I just wanted to go over some of the things that you might want to consider as you think not just about your garden, because I know not all of you are gardeners, but about the place of your home, about the place around your home, about some of your favorite places to go, maybe even about your church. What are the things that create sacred space? What are the things, the ordinary, everyday things that create sacred space? And why is sacred space important? Well, what I was thinking about this morning is, what do I want in my sacred space? Not in terms of items, but what do I want it to be? Because sacred space has different meaning for different people. Sometimes it is a place of rest. It's a place where we invite people to come and to sit and just to relax. And I very much like to have that kind of environment in my garden. Over the last few years, I have accumulated things like not only the pots that you saw in the post that I did on Friday, in which Tom is sitting surrounded by these pots, that have a wonderful place of sacredness and a feeling of sacredness to them. But I like to introduce sounds. I have a beautiful cathedral set of wind chimes that I just love listening to. And this is a place of rest for me. I like to have bird baths. But though this year I am trying to figure out how I can keep the crows out of the baths so that they don't kind of bring pieces of bread to soften it up. And obviously at the same time, really mess up my bird baths. But, so what I am wanting is a place in which not only I, but others like to sit and relax and to rest. What is it that you find brings a sense of rest to you, not just in the garden, but in any form of nature? Secondly, of course, it can be a place to pray. What stirs you to prayer when you go into the garden or into nature? One of the things I think about is the fact that so much of our gardening is done on our knees, which is often considered to be the position of prayer. And so what can you do that really encourages prayer? One of the things that I'd love to have in my garden, and I've been dreaming about this for years, whether it will ever come into being or not, I don't know, but I would love to have a small labyrinth in my garden so that I and others can walk around that and pray and reflect and enter more deeply into the place of God. But there are other things. Some people have altars in their gardens or, create altars when they go out into nature that give them a sense of a place to come, a reverent place in which they can come to pray and to draw close to the presence of God. Maybe it's a place to reflect. What invites you to sit, reflect, and meditate? Well, that's, it's like everything in the garden does that for me. But for many of us, there are specific things that make that feel a good place, make it feel a good place to rest and relax and to reflect. Maybe a secluded part of the garden that is kind of almost walled off from the rest of the garden. Or a water feature might do that for you. Maybe some of your favorite flowers, all kinds of things invite us to to reflect in different ways in our garden. Fourthly, you might want a place to celebrate. A number of years ago, when we put in a patio out in the back garden and put a bench around it, that was a wonderful place for a lot of people to sit. It was really created as a place of hospitality, a place of celebration, a place where people liked to gather and be a part of what was going on in the garden. And that has continued to be that kind of a place. Because of my plants, it's not quite as easy to sit on that big bench anymore, but we've got other chairs. And I'd like to have other places for people to sit so that there is that real sense of celebration in the garden. A place to remember. I have a place in my garden where I've planted roses because for many of us, roses are the quintessential part of memorial gardens. And so many gardens around the world, rose gardens, have been created as places of memory. What is it for you that makes it a memorial garden? A place to think about those that you have lost, maybe? A place to think about the things within our world that we've lost, maybe for different reasons. Or maybe just a place to sit and stir memories and to reflect. I know that there are places in my garden that do that for me. And I hope that you think about places that might be possible for you too. What are the favorite plants of those you've lost? Is there a way that you could incorporate them into your garden? What are some specific things that you might be able to add to your garden that help you remember others? And memory gardens are a wonderful place, of course, for people with Alzheimer's, with dementia, like Tom has. And of course, part of what he so enjoyed last year was going out into the garden and sitting and remembering some of the things that we'd done together and some of the things that he enjoyed in the past. Some people like to create biblical gardens where they plant herbs, flowers, and trees that are mentioned in the garden. And, there are a number of these available, biblical gardens, big gardens around the place. But I know of people that like to create just a small area of their garden where they plant the herbs that are talked about in the Bible, something that can be a very special bridge between us and our faith as well. Or a healing garden. I love that a growing number of hospitals are planting gardens. Even prisons are planting gardens as a place for people to find healing. One of my favorite, absolute and utter favorite films is, and of course, I can't think of the name of it now, Greenfingers, where Helen Mirren and Clive Owen play together in a wonderful film in which Clive is a prisoner and he and another group of prisoners are asked to create a garden. And I mean, they start and they're absolutely, why on earth are we doing this? And they just get so much into it. And the healing that they find in that is just a precious, precious thing. And I think there are so many ways that we can invite people not just people, sometimes animals as well, into our gardens or help to create in a private or a public space a garden that helps to bring healing. So, what makes a garden a sacred space for you? Well, obviously, there are all kinds of possibilities, and I've just really kind of touched on a few of these at the moment. But what draws you into the presence of God in a special way, either in your own garden or in some other garden, maybe of a friend or a public garden or going out into a forest? I really would love to know what defines sacred space in a garden for you. And I hope that some of these things that I've kind of just brushed over today may help you to think about how to create sacred space in your own garden. So please send comments. Please help me to know what you find sacred in the garden. Some of the things that I haven't even thought of, I'd love to hear from you about those too.